welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. I'm Bryce Johnson, president of Unpacking It Ministries, a ministry for sports fans. The podcast is a part of our ministry, but we also have some really exciting events. We've got small groups, and we've got our weekday email devotional that you can sign up to receive in your inbox. Just go to unpackingit.com/subscribe. And basically, we take a current sports story and relate it to the Bible. And hopefully it's something that is encouraging, challenging, and inspiring to you each day. But here on the podcast, we've got a fun interview for you today. He's on ESPN. His name is Marcus Spears, and specifically, he's on the SEC network. But Marcus, man, he's just a really cool guy and had some really neat things to share personally and in regards to his faith. Then we also talk football, and so I think you'll really enjoy this. Stick around at the end of the show. I want to talk about one thing in particular that really stood out to me that he brought up during the interview, and so I'll unpack that a little bit further. You can also listen to the other podcasts either on our website or in iTunes or whatever podcast player that you enjoy listening on, and always check out the 2-minute podcast, which is kind of a sample of Unpack This that we do each day through email. That's kind of the audio version, so definitely check that out as well. But right now, let's jump into our interview. Our guest today played 9 seasons in the NFL as a defensive end with the Cowboys and the Ravens. He was a first-round draft pick in 2005 after a great college career at LSU, where he won a national championship. He is now a college football analyst for the SEC Network and ESPN, appearing on SEC Nation and Thinking Out Loud. He's a husband and a father of 3. Marcus Spears joins us now on Unpacking It to talk football, faith, and life. Marcus, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Bryce, I'm doing well, man. How are you? Thank you for having me. Excited to have a great conversation with you today, man.
Man, well, I'm fired up, and actually, we're both in Charlotte, even though we're talking on the phone today. How'd you survive the winter storm this week?
Oh man, we stayed in. I went out and had a snow day with my kids a couple of days ago. We went crazy in the backyard, tried to build a makeshift snowman, but had no idea how to get it going because we really Texas folks. Yep. We don't experience snow much. So, but just enjoyed it, man. Family time, obviously after football season, that's really what it's all about for me. And so just had a good time. Stayed in, eating. Me and my wife, we are on a keto diet now.
Ooh.
So it's been being indoors has helped us because we had nothing to do but read and try to figure out how to best keep going with the keto diet and just hanging out with the kids, man. That's it.
That's awesome. Well, so what is this diet all about? How'd you find that?
So basically keto is Tim Tebow actually has been doing a keto diet for a long time. And when we were together on Nation, I've watched him over time, and it's a high-fat diet, which is crazy, which for a fat dude like me, you would think that you need to cut the fat in order to lose weight. But what happens is you go into what's called a state of ketosis, and basically your body transfers from you cut carbohydrates, you cut sugar, you get your carbohydrates from vegetables as opposed to bread, anything that's sugar. So basically what happens is when your body switches over into ketosis, it starts to use fat to burn fuel for your body. So in turn, you start burning fat instead of burning the carbohydrates, the energy that we get from glucose and stuff like that. It's a real, it's been going on forever.
Wow.
I just discovered it and started doing it. Tim has been doing it for a while, and I didn't really talk to him about it. I started researching it a little bit. He, told me about this bulletproof coffee that he drinks in the morning. So that's become a staple in our house, and it's awesome. I've lost probably 15 pounds.
Oh wow!
And that's in a 2.5 week period or so. So it's a great thing. You got to get through what you got to get through on mostly any diet. Being fatigued, you don't feel, you a little drab because your body is transitioning from having all of that sugar. But now we're to the energy part of it, and it's wonderful, man.
Man, that's fascinating. Very, very cool. Yeah, appreciate you sharing about that. That's neat. Marcus Spears is our guest right now on Unpacking It, and it's been a couple of weeks since the incredible national championship game. But as you look back at the entire year in college football and the playoff, how will you remember the 2017 season?
I thought it was a great year, man, and I thought it was a great year from a parity standpoint. I thought it was one of those years where you really didn't know what the end was going to look like. Yeah. Alabama wasn't just the outright favorite. Clemson was really good, but you saw some things about their team that they wouldn't. That if the game happened this type of way, they probably wouldn't have a lot of success. Georgia, Cinderella story, a bunch of seniors coming back. Kirby Smart in his second year. And you look at what Lincoln Riley did at Oklahoma, the Baker Mayfield roller coaster ride. It was just a tremendous year. You look across every conference, the resurgence of Miami and the success that Mark Richt had there. It was just a great year. Scott Frost, UCF claiming their own national championship. I just thought the storylines, the great stories, the things that happened throughout this year was magnificent. The blind kid at USC and his story and how his perseverance was so inspiring and motivating to people. I just thought it was one of those years. But it's sports, right? It's college football sports. And every year we're going to have those tearjerkers, those happy times, those low moments. It just a great year, man.
It really was, and what a finish! I mean, think about it. We're only 19 days into January, and we already saw an incredible national championship game, and then of course the Minnesota Miracle last week in the NFL playoffs. But what did you think on that final play of the national championship when Tua made that pass and it ended that way?
Well, the play before that, he took a sack for about a 16-yard loss.
Oh, yeah.
And I said that in my mind, I was thinking that's the problem with the inexperience.
Ooh.
Now, we all knew Tua was talented enough. And I've seen him in practice. We've seen him, coaches have talked a little bit about if he may get an opportunity in some big games. But, so it went from that low to that high, right? Yeah. And then the adjustment that Nick Saban makes puts a freshman quarterback in the second half down 13-0. And we keep having this conversation about, is he the greatest ever? Mm-hmm. I think if there's any definition of that, it was the decision to go with Tua and the fact that he had the confidence to go with a freshman, and they came back and won the game. But that last play for Georgia was very, I was disheartened because I'm a defensive guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it was cover two, and I don't know what the safety was doing in the middle of the field when you got two high safeties in the back end. Like, make the receiver make a play. Don't make it that easy for him. And so it was that part of it for me. And then it was the look at what just happened. Like, after, I didn't think a game would get any better than Georgia, Oklahoma the week prior.
True.
I thought that was going to be the pinnacle of this football season as far as games. And then that happens with two SEC schools playing in it, two coaches that had been together for so long, so much talent on the football field, and a freshman quarterback and a freshman receiver makes the play at the end of the game to win the game. And that's the thing. You look at Nick Saban and Alabama, and another thing that jumped out to me, there were four freshmen in key positions in the national championship. Your left tackle, Alex Leatherwood. You had Devontae Smith, who made the catch. You had Najee Harris at the back position. And the most important position in football, you had a freshman at the quarterback spot. And they were able to get a W. So the future's bright at Alabama, but also at Georgia as well. Kirby's doing a tremendous job I don't think people expected Georgia to be there. Once I saw them play a couple of times, I thought they were the most complete team in football, in college football this year. So it's just exciting going into next year. But when I saw that last play, I was just so brokenhearted for Georgia and the safety Dominic Sanders, because he's had a tremendous career at Georgia. He's the all-time leader in interceptions. It was just one of those plays where you're probably thinking you're going to try to make them play pre-snap wise, and you end up giving up a big one.
Oh, yeah. From that perspective, it was devastating. And then on the other side, it was so thrilling. And that's what makes those plays so special. Marcus Spears, our guest right now on Unpacking It. He's a college football analyst for the SEC Network and was a NFL defensive end for 9 seasons. And so following your playing career in the NFL, you jumped into TV and you cover college football. So why did you decide to go the TV route, and specifically, why did you pick analyzing college instead of the NFL?
You know, I think for me, it was a natural progression, and by default, I probably had already been working on television before I retired from the Cowboys, because I was one of those guys that, you know, I made a conscious effort to make sure that I was always available to the media. I made sure that I did stuff in the off season. I remember in college, a guy by the name of Dr. Tommy Karam, who kind of is over the media, getting guys ready when there's going to be a lot of media coming at them. And he told me, he said, look, that television is your way of talking to your fans.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me all throughout my career in Dallas. And then when I get to Dallas, our PR guy, media guy, Rich Dalrymple, was instrumental in making sure that I understood what was going on. And it was just one of those things where I felt like it was a natural progression. I was always outspoken. I wanted to do something that I felt like I could make an impact.
Yeah.
And I didn't think the NFL that I could make the type of impact that I make on college, because you have young men who are impressionable, and it's important for me, not only in television, we get a lot of time hands-on. I'm on these campuses. I get to go to practice. I get to sit down and have talks with these guys. I thought that in that arena, I could give them some game, per se, some knowledge about just life, not just football, life. And, you know, you deal with a lot of these athletes, especially in the Southeastern Conference, that's going to have an opportunity to go play in the NFL. So I think it's important to get those guys before they get to that level and kind of figure out what their perspective are, share your stories with them, and let them know the things that you went through, the fires to stay away from, some things to look out for when they go forward. But television for me is a way to make an impact.
Yeah.
And it affords you a lot of opportunities. It gets you in front of a lot of people. And my goal when I became a part of SEC Network and ESPN was, from a sports standpoint, was to make people feel like that they were just sitting in the house talking to Marcus and we were breaking down football and having a great conversation. I didn't want to feel like the super buttoned up guy that you have to have a book to figure out what I'm talking about or anything like that. I just always wanted to make sure I was of the people, and I wanted to discuss football and talk about sports and talk about life when that opportunity presented itself, like the common man that I am, you know. So cool. It's been awesome, man. It's been an opportunity for me to branch out, to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh, that's great to hear. And I love watching you and Tim Tebow and the rest of the guys on SEC Nation. It really is just a fun show, a very relaxed show.
Thank you.
So I'm absolutely right there with you on that. But why did you decide to go the college football route versus covering the NFL?
Yeah. I love college football more than NFL football.
Okay.
I enjoy watching college. I enjoy the whole atmosphere of college football. I actually got in trouble as a rookie with the Dallas Cowboys. Reporter asked me after my first game in the iconic Texas Stadium. he said, "How was your experience?" I said, "Well, it was awesome to put on an NFL uniform. I play for the Dallas Cowboys. That's amazing. But as far as the crowd, it felt a little small."
Ooh, that's hilarious.
And Cowboy Texas Stadium held like 70,000. I was used to Saturday nights in Death Valley with 103.
That's right.
And that atmosphere. And I still, when I'm standing on the sideline at a college football game, there's an emotion and a feeling that runs through my body that I never got standing on the sideline at an NFL game. And obviously, the business aspect of it, I think, college is kind of, it's transitioned a little bit into a business, but it still has those big portions of it that's just the last phase of honest, lying down, I'm trying to make it, I'm trying to be the best football element to it that I love. And then I love these kids, man. I really do. I empathize with them. I feel what they feel. I see how bad they want to make it to the next level and change their families' lives. Mm-hmm. So all of that stuff is a culmination of why I love the game. But the excitement around a Saturday, especially in the Southeastern Conference, but all over the country, I think is unparalleled to anything that we have in this country when it comes to sports.
Man, no, it's a great perspective, especially from someone who played so long in the NFL and experienced that side of things. Yeah. But I still have to ask you, will you watch the NFL championship weekend and do you still
for
keep
sure,
up with it?
For sure. I'm not down on the NFL at all.
Cool.
I love the NFL, and my team obviously is the Cowboys, and I follow them. We've had some up and down moments. But yeah. I mean, I love the story with Case Keenum and the Minnesota Vikings right now. Yep. I love the fact that Jacksonville has a great defense and they're playing against the best quarterback to ever play in the NFL this weekend, and we'll see how that works out. It's amazing. Philly, you look at the Eagles and how long and much they wanted to be back in this position. I played with T.O., the last Philly team that made it to a Super Bowl. So it's football. The game in itself is going to create excitement and enthusiasm. But you look at the last play with Minnesota and the Saints, like only in football, the high right. of Diggs scoring the touchdown, the low of the safety, Williams, I think is his last name, missing a tackle and being so young and just making that mistake because of experience. Yep. So I think, the NFL is still a beautiful game. I still love it. I'm one that doesn't mind athletes being activists. I don't mind them expressing their views. I don't mind them sharing their faith. I like all of the things that encompass the NFL, whether I agree with some or whether I disagree with some. I think it's men. It's men trying to continue to grow. They have families that they have to take care of. They feel like they have a social responsibility. They have financial responsibility with foundations and what they give to. They have responsibility to the people that their families, how they represent them and how they play the game. So all of those elements, which I've been a part of, I still enjoy about the NFL as well.
Love it. No, that's great to hear. Marcus Spears, our guest right now on Unpacking It, played 9 seasons in the NFL as a defensive end with the Cowboys and the Ravens, and now is an analyst for the SEC Network and ESPN. And Marcus, I love talking football with you, but also know that you love Jesus, and so we love just talking about faith here on Unpacking It as well. And so I'll just ask you, when and why did you decide to follow Jesus?
Young age, man. I went to Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it was one of those old churches, one of those maybe 100 people can get in. The pews were packed. We had it was just good old Southern church, and I felt like I've had a transition in my life how I approach faith and how I think about it now. I think when you're young, especially in the African American community, we go to church and we just do what church people do, right? And we shout when everybody else shouts, and I'm talking about when you're young, and we get excited when the music is good, and we don't, as we grow, we get baptized at a young age without fully knowing what it means to be cleansed and renewed. And I think for me, as I grew and as my view expanded, as I met people who were Muslim, as I met people that were Catholic, as I met people that were Jewish, I just start to expand and start thinking about this. And from my experience growing up, and I just, when I got older, I said, I just want to follow Jesus. I don't want to deal with all of these things that we're supposed to do, or all of these things that are kind of traditional of what going to church means and what religion means and what being a Christian, Catholic, Jew, Muslim means. I don't want to follow those things. I just want to follow Jesus. And once I do that, as I got older, once I figured that out, it didn't matter where I was. It didn't matter what influence was around me. And I'm gonna tell you, I grew up in South Baton Rouge, and when I was drafted and got money, I was living, and I was balling out per se, like everybody else does, and not respecting, and not in a degrading way, but not respecting women when it comes to understanding what, like, this action that I take, how would that make them feel? How would that change their life? So my perspective changed when I started to follow Jesus and really know. I'm gonna tell you what it did, Bryce. It's funny. It made me more empathetic to people.
Yeah.
It made me not look at people and say, why are you like this? Now I look at, when somebody does something, I have a tendency to say, what about their life made them make that decision? And that's a different perspective as opposed to saying, why would you do that? And I think his grace and mercy on my life, man, those times where I've been in situations where it could have been bad, or I could have lost my life, or anything like that, and he had me in his hands. I think that's really why, to me now, my whole perspective is I'm gonna follow Jesus, and everything else that the world wants to put on us, or everything else, these social statuses, these things that we're supposed to do because we're in this position, all of that kind of fell by the wayside. And my wife became more important to me, my family, my children, making sure that I was taking care of the things that he blessed me with when it comes from my family structure. And, that is the most important thing to me now in life. And I follow Jesus because, the old me would have said because it's the right thing to do and that's what everybody else did. But I really follow Jesus because life is just so much easier when you have that source.
Amen. Oh, I love it. Marcus Spears sharing with us today on Unpacking It. And as you kind of look back, even in recent years, what have been some of maybe the key moments or seasons of life that have challenged and grown your faith?
I think for me, my first year in the NFL was a season that grew my faith in a major way, and it was because it was difficult. I worked hard for 4 years in college to get a chance to be drafted, and I'm training in the off season, and I tear my meniscus 4 days before the combine, and the combine was going to be my coming out party. This big guy can run fast and jump high, and I was prepared and ready for all of the drills. And then I was practicing one night on the broad jump, landed, and my knee popped. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, this is it. Like, this is causing, I don't know much about the injury, so this is it. This is going to cause me to not be drafted in the first round. I may not ever be the same player I am because the one thing of the stigma for football players and anybody in sports is once a knee injury happens, especially back in 2005, it's like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Now you get a knee, everybody, they like, you're fine. You'll be back in 6 months from a torn ACL. But at the time, man, I was devastated. And my coach at the time, Reggie Williams, was very strong in his faith. He actually was an ordained minister. That was my trainer. Oh, right. It's funny how God works. He got a sense of humor. And when that happened, I hid it from him. I didn't tell him. I was like, I'm tired. He asked me why I was limping. I said, I'm tired, man. I want to go get some rest and just kind of chill out. So I ended up, I was devastated, and I asked the question that we all ask at some point. God, why? Like, I'm here. Like, this is all of the work has put me in this spot to be successful. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not one of those guys that everybody, when I asked God that question, I didn't hear it. It wasn't rolling thunder. I didn't hear him say anything to me, anything like that. And I don't, I'm not judging anybody, but I think sometimes people do that to embellish it. And I didn't hear anything. And I was left to my own thoughts after I said, God, why would you let this happen? And my own thoughts were, well, what did you do? Why would you continue to work this hard? You knew you were tired. Why you kept doing the broad jump? Why you needed to see if you could get one more foot on the broad jump to try to increase your number? Like, if you would have just stopped before that happened, you'll be fine right now. Your legs were too tired. These were the things that were going through my mind. And it's funny, the next morning, my coach, we came in, and I was still limping, and my coach, Reggie Williams at the time, who I'm still very close with today, who was still training athletes, he said, I knew something had happened to your knee last night. He said, I wanted to see if your pride and your ego would allow you to tell me that something happened to your knee. Ooh. And it hit me. And honestly, Bryce, through that moment, that was God responding to why God.
That's cool.
Because I needed to be humbled.
Yep.
I needed to let people know. I needed to let people know it was okay to ask me if I was okay.
Yep.
And I still struggle with that up until this point. My wife is like, babe, you got to let other people be there for you.
That's right.
But I've always had that mentality of, I need to work this out. I need to figure this out. I need to make sure everybody is good, and then I'll get to myself. And it was the point of humility for me, and that was God's answer to me. So I believe that Jesus speaks through the people in your life. I'm a firm believer in that. But my faith is transition, man, and there's been so many situations and instances throughout my career, but my rookie year, tearing my meniscus, not being able to compete in the combine, being down and having surgery, and then coming throughout a pro day and still going 20th in the first round of the NFL draft and being drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. It proved to me that God was so much bigger than anything that I could fathom. And when we think it's over, or when we think we've done something to take ourselves out of the game, he controls the game.
Man, what a word.
Yeah, man.
Marcus Spears with us here on Unpacking It, and I love just thinking about just how big God is and how he uses people in our lives, and he speaks to us in different ways, in multiple ways, and we can't put him in a box or just in our own thinking, think that, oh, God's only going to do it this way. But he'll show us what we need if we're looking and willing to submit to him. So So that's a cool thing to hear. Well, Marcus, man, I could talk to you all day. I just wanted to ask you one more thing about your wife, because I just think it's cool. You married your college sweetheart, Aisha. She actually played in the WNBA, which is a cool part of the story too. But what's something maybe that you've learned about marriage or just wisdom that you share with other married guys that you've learned yourself?
Right. Well, the one funny thing is stay out of their way. That's number one. This household is ran the way she wants to run it when it comes from the kids all the way up until what kind of furniture we gonna sleep on or buy. And a submissive wife doesn't mean you're an overbearing husband. And I think that's the thing that I've learned more than anything is my wife submits to me, and she gives me the opportunity to make the decision, but she also has her input. And I think in our marriage, man, because I was young and, like I said, crazy. I broke up with her 100 times. We got back together. We got married. We planned the wedding, called the wedding off, went to the courthouse and got married. Then did a vow renewal. In Jamaica, which was deemed our real wedding. So we've been through it all. And the one thing that always sticks out about my wife to me is her unwavering love for her family. And I think every day I wake up and, I'm grateful to Jesus and I'm grateful to God that I found a woman that is totally committed to her family. And I look at my kids and the way we move around our house, the way they're loving to people and they accept people when they come over or when they're out in public. That's a reflection of their mother. And I've truly married my soulmate. It took me a while to realize it, but I married my soulmate, man, and her nurturing and love for not only my kids but me and our family. It's unbelievable. And she was a superstar athlete. She understood that part of it too. But she's my bedrock. She's my foundation when it comes to my angel manifested in the flesh. She's that one for me. So I look at her every day. Like my son right now has a cold or whatever. We don't think it's the flu, but for the past 2 days, she's been in the room making sure that he's doctored up and making sure that he's fine. It's just those small sacrifices. She's moved around the country with me and never complained. Has supported me 100%. So I could go on and on, man. We've been together for 17 years now, since 2001, and been married 11. It'll be 12 in October. And I can honestly say it's better now than it has ever been. Cool. So she's an amazing woman, man. And at some point, it's crazy. At some point, her ministry is going to touch the world as well. Because she has an amazing story in her life. And I think it's just, she's just got to raise these kids first before she gets to the point where she wants to share that ministry, man. Wow, man, that's inspiring to hear. Yeah. Love hearing a husband talk about his wife like that. That's really, really neat. So, man, Marcus, really appreciate you being a part of Unpacking It today and just sharing your heart and your life. And it was fun talking sports as well. And man, keep up the great work on and off TV. And man, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, Bryce. I appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do it again. He's Marcus Spears joining us here on Unpacking It. What a likable guy. Big personality and just a ton of fun. And I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And the one big takeaway for me is when he was talking about, wondering, okay, why was he going through that injury? What was God doing in his life? What did he need to learn? And the lesson that kind of bubbled up that he realized during that season of his life was how he needed to let other people in when he was struggling and to admit when he was struggling and to allow other people to ask him if he's okay. And I just think that that's such a wonderful thing to recognize and such a difficult thing for us to do, especially as men. We're kind of known for this, that we want to be strong. We want to kind of do things in our own strength and just get after it and just keep going, keep grinding, and instead of allowing people into our lives and into the struggle so that they can walk alongside of us, to actually admit, hey, emotionally I'm struggling, spiritually I'm struggling, physically I'm struggling, and that's leading to these other issues, and emotional, spiritual. And so it's in those moments that it gives another person an opportunity to be compassionate, to serve, to care, and it reveals the friendship or the relationship, and I think it just creates an opportunity for a deeper bond with somebody else when you let them in, and then they reciprocate and actually dive in and help, and whether it's listen, whether it's encouraging, whether it's offering up wisdom, meeting you right in that situation, that whatever you're going through, they're right there with you. And it's, again, it's just hard to say, hey, come on in. Sometimes if we're the ones on the outside wondering, okay, I wonder if he needs my help. Sometimes we got to push in. Sometimes we got to knock down the door a little bit and say, hey, listen, buddy, I know you need my help. I know you don't want my help, but I know you need my help. And of course it's with love and it's with grace, but sometimes we've got to step it up. But at the same time, if we're the one in the pain, let's be a little bit more welcoming, so that our friends and family don't have to bang down the doors as much. So good word from Marcus Spears. I hope that that's encouraging to you. I know it is to me. Check out our website, unpackingit.com. If you have any thoughts on today's show, or if you want to get in touch with me personally, send me an email, bryce@unpackingit.com. Always love to hear from you, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.